Hey everyone, my name is Brian and I'm applying to be an RA again. This year I learned that it is okay to get frustrated. I learned that I could stay calm, collected, and resilient even when I am frustrated. There's no hiding the fact that this last semester was challenging, especially living in day hall. From my floor flooding and my stuff getting damaged, to dealing with racist graffiti on my floor, I was frustrated, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained. However, what I learned this past semester is that I can use my frustration to make a change. I also learned that even if I'm physically, mentally, and emotionally drained, I'm still able to make connections and have a positive impact on the lives of my residents. I learned that I will not always have the answers, and that is okay. I learned that support is a two-way street and that it looks different for everyone. The most important skill I learned this year is patience. In times of transition, it's hard to get used to a new way of doing things. Recognizing this, I had to stay patient as the department has undergone several changes. I think that one of the aspects of the RA role that I can do more next year is to be physically present on the floor. This year, I've been overly involved on campus in both extracurricular activities, on academic committees, working, and writing a thesis paper. Next year, I plan to have more time for me and my residents, and I plan to be physically on the floor more often instead of just being present in a way of always a phone call away. The reason I want to return to being an RA is because I've always been a people person, and each year being an RA has put me in contact with new students, people, staff members that I can form connections with. I have to return as an RA because I enjoy being a campus resource for students who need help. Another reason is that each year my residents have taught me so much about the world from their own perspectives. Hearing about different people's lives, experiences, and struggles has taught me so much over the past 2 years. I want to continue learning about other people's way of life and help them navigate this scary thing called college. I think that one way we as RAs can build an inclusive space is by creating and hosting CCIs that encourage our students to learn more about each other's cultures and who they are as people. I think that having the residents sit down with one another will make people feel more included. Education is important to inclusivity training, but this education does not have to be formalized. Informal education through just having conversations can go a long way. Another way to be more inclusive is to translate emails for your international students to the language that they speak. This way they feel more included. I also think it's important that RAs are trained to acknowledge their own personal implicit biases because these biases can affect the decisions that they make, the CCIs they implement, and the conversations they're having. Diversity and inclusivity training should not just be a one-time event. However, I believe it should be incorporated into every meeting that we have. Personally, I find that the 30-minute conversations were more beneficial to my role as a resident advisor for several reasons. First, these conversations can happen naturally, and the students are more willing to share information about themselves due to the one-on-one-ness of these conversations. Second, the international conversations provided a time for me to learn more about a student than I ever would in a group setting. Entering ICs, intentional conversations, helped me create and put on CCIs that were informed by these conversations and that I knew my residents actually wanted to attend. For me, the most challenging part of these conversations was that college is a busy time and people do not always have 30 minutes to allocate to talking. Similarly, there are some residents you never see, and you see some more often than others due to their location on their floor. You guys have similar schedules, we're in the same school. Next year, to overcome some of these barriers, I plan on doing two things. One, I think that 30 minutes is a long time to have a conversation, but I think that it doesn't have to be 30 minutes right then and there. I think that if you are having a conversation and you're catching a resident in kind of a middle time and it's just like, you guys, if you continue that same conversation at a later date, I really think it shows, one, that you're actually paying attention to the conversation that we're having, and two, that you actually want to learn more about your resident and not trying just to check off a box and saying like, I did my 30 minutes, so I'm done. I also wanted to create spaces outside the residence hall for us to meet. So this could be going to the Bird Library and, maybe having a study session and, during that study session, having that conversation, or going to get Starbucks or walking to class together. These are times I think that I really can take advantage of next year. CCIs are very challenging at times because with a group of 81 residents, it's hard to find something that everyone wants to do. Another issue with CCIs is that even though residents seem excited to come to an event when it's first announced, by the time that event occurs, like other things have came up in their lives. We call it because college is very fast moving and new opportunities are always arising. It's one of the biggest challenges that I've always had is that you set a date, be like, hey, we're having a CCI on this day, and everyone's like, yes, that's awesome. I definitely want to go ice skating, or I definitely want to play bowling in the lounge. And then the day comes and not as many people who showed interest show up, and that's because things come up, and that's understandable. But I think that what I want to do next semester is try to find a balance between announcing and keeping that same energy and having people have that follow through and actually come to a lot of the events. So next year, I am technically actually graduating in May, and so I'm applying to stay at Syracuse, and so I'm also applying to be an RA as grad school. So next year I'll be a graduate student studying policy, and I really specifically like education policy or social policy. So I'm hoping to use this RA position as a way to get more involved within higher education policy. Throughout this year, I've struggled with some of the new policies that have been in place, and I feel as an RA next year I want to be, and if given the opportunity, I want to be more active within the RA community by sitting on committees that create and discuss these policies that are directly impacting the lives of my students. As a third-year RA, I plan to serve as a mentor to others by keeping motivated. Each year is a new year, and people feed off of each other's energies. By having a positive and motivating presence, I hope to be seen as a leader on my staff. This way we could provide our residents the best year that they ever had and the year that they deserve. As a returner, I will support the new RAs by letting them know that the other returners and I are a resource for them to talk to, bounce ideas off of, and work with them if they're having trouble. I also plan on supporting my new RAs by being open, friendly, and talkative. Like I said, I'm a big people person. In regard to assisting professional staff, I plan on being a person that they can lean on. This will come about by letting them know that I'm always willing to take on more responsibilities, keep everyone on track, and being a sounding board for new ideas.